It's been a while since the last video. Had a lot to do over Christmas, didn't get much chance to do any filming. But here we are again, and I've got another of my favourite recipes for you. This one is a bhuna. It's an Indian dish, and we're going to be using wild boar for this bhuna. I have some wild boar here. And it might sound complicated. It's actually one of the simplest curries you can possibly make, and it's a great way to make lesser cuts of meat really tender and cook them down till they're almost like a kebab. So let's have a look at the ingredients here that I've got laid out in front of me. Firstly, a bhuna uses all dried spices, all whole spices here. Have a look at them now. Here we have 1 teaspoon of cumin, 3 teaspoons of whole coriander, 1 teaspoon of mustard seeds, 1.5 teaspoons of fennel seeds, 1 teaspoon of fenugreek, and here in the middle I've got 3 dried chili de árbol. You could use any dried large chili. It's just I have chili de árbol in the cupboard. They need using up, and I think they'll go well with this recipe. And as you can see, for this Indian curry, there's actually a lot of fennel in it, rather a lot. And of course, this large amount of fennel and the large amount of coriander is going to work really well with the next ingredients. That is 650 grams of wild boar, and it's been cut down into serving pieces. Next, we have 2 large shallots, very, very finely chopped, 2 medium tomatoes, finely chopped, a sprig of fresh curry leaves, coarsely chopped, and then 1 tablespoon of finely chopped garlic. Well, this is grated actually. So it's 1 tablespoon of grated ginger and 1 tablespoon of grated garlic. And that is all the ingredients you need for this curry. It really is that simple, but it's going to be absolutely delicious. Firstly, we'll have to start roasting the spices. Here you can see I'm just toasting the spices now. And you've got to be careful not to burn them. You just go a shade darker. And you see the popping, some are brown here. Yeah, be careful not to turn the spices bitter. Just get them nicely toasted. When they're done, we're going to let them cool down and then grind them. The spices are now toasted. You can see they've gone just a shade darker. They're not too dark. We don't want them to go bitter. And I'm now going to put them in my coffee grinder. First thing is, it's best to use an electric coffee grinder. If you've got a hand coffee grinder, I do have a hand crank coffee grinder. I use that for coffee. But these chilies are not going to go through a hand crank coffee grinder very well at all. You'll be there all the time pushing them down with a knife. Yeah. So electric coffee grinder is always the best for spices. Give it a wipe off with some tissue. Make sure you get any residue from the last batch of spices you ground. We don't want everything tasting the same. There we go. Nice wipe out. Put the chilies in first. Pour the rest of these spices in. Oh. Yeah, catch any stray bits. And then grind it to a fine powder. That's simple. Okay, you can see that's lovely and fine. Gosh, what wonderful smell. Lovely nutty smell now to that after roasting the spices. Fantastic. Okay, get any last bits out of there. The coffee grinder, another wipe out. And we're all ready to go for the next stage. We have all our ingredients prepared, and now it's a very simple matter to put it all together in the pan. So first thing we need to do is heat our pan up. Once the pan is getting warm, I'm going to add 50 millilitres of corn oil. It's already looking quite hot. Good. To test it, you can put a little piece of curry leaf in. Yep, okay, quickly, in quick succession, we're going to put curry leaves and shallots. There we go. And stir it. There's the shallots in. There's the curry leaves. Let them simmer for a while, just to soften up. As soon as they start to brown, we're going to put in the ginger and the garlic. So I'll turn it down a bit. It's a very hot stove. Doesn't matter if it sticks to the bottom, that's all going to come off and taste lovely, but don't let it go black, obviously. Next, we're going to put our tomatoes in. Let these soften up. Tomatoes are softening up now, going quite pulpy, so spices can go in. I'm just going to turn it down a little bit, so I don't want to burn these spices onto the bottom. Getting out there. Just cook the spices for about 30 seconds. Scrape it off the bottom, don't let it burn there at this stage. Once those spices have woken up a bit, you can throw in the meat and stir this in now. Stir it into the mixture, and then quickly we're going to add 200 millilitres of water. And lastly, 1 teaspoon of salt. Be careful not to over-salt this. We're going to reduce this sauce down at the end, and we do not want too much salt. Obviously, is not going to be very nice once that sauce is reduced down. So let's have a check. Yeah, everything's come off the bottom of the pan there, you see. Yeah, I've got no bad burning. That's starting to bubble up nicely now. Once it starts boiling, I will turn it right down low and cook it for as long as the meat needs. In this case, we're talking about wild boar, so I will probably give it about 2 hours. We want to get it really nice and tender. And it's 2 hours when you can do other things around the house. So it's not exactly difficult, arduous time. It's just letting it cook now on a really low heat. You'll notice I've barely covered that meat. It's just very barely covered with the sauce. That's how we want it. And we're going to cook it slowly now until it's lovely and tender. On goes the lid, and now we just wait. The wild boar's now been cooking for about 2.5 hours. I gave it plenty of time to get nice and tender. So I'm going to take the lid off now, have a look at it. And now is the time, if you're not going to eat all of it, now is the time to put some aside for freezing. Okay, because we're going to reduce this down for serving. But if you're going to save it in the freezer, it's best to leave lots of that juice in there. Okay, so I'm going to take out what I'm going to eat now and reduce down, and plenty of this sauce. Okay, I'll put that one to one side, let it cool down, and that can go in the freezer. Now it's time to simply reduce this down. As you can see, it reduces down very quickly. That sauce is nice and thick now and clinging to the meat. So turn that off and we can just let it sit and rest for a while. We put a lid on there. And we've got some time to just leave that and get everything else ready, like the rice and some bread on which to serve it. All the ingredients are now prepared. Yeah, it was just waiting really, nothing much to do. I'll show you how I like to serve it. I've got some cucumber and tomato riata, quince and lemon chutney, finely sliced onion rings and some saffron rice and a nice hot flatbread here. Firstly, I'm going to get my saffron rice. Put some of this down here. Nice helping there. Then, which we have, put the Bhuna on. Then let's have a bit of this quince chutney. You could use any chutney you like. I like to make my own. We get some lovely quinces down here, and so I buy some every autumn. Make some nice quince chutney. Maybe we can do a video about that one day. But of course, it goes very well with lamb and some pork like this. Then a little bit of my cucumber and tomato riata. And just roll it up. Or fold it up. I think we might have to fold this up and eat it like this. Okay, so we'll have the taste test in a moment. Here it is. Here's the taste test. Let's see how it goes. Oh, I'm really looking forward to this. Mm. Mm. Oh, wow. That's so good. The great thing about this is you can make it with almost any meat. You can make it with pork, lamb, beef, yeah, whatever you like. It's really good. But I find it's really good for wild boar. I started using that because it allows for a nice long cooking time. Yeah, so hope you enjoyed the video. Join us next week and we'll be cooking another dish from India. So until then, see you soon.